I'm going to take a sip of water.
When will Mattel finish out the vintage figures for the MOTU Origins line? We run down the remaining figures left to produce with our special guest, Adam, from the Battle Ram blog right now on Toy Habits Live. And before we go live, smash that like button, turn on notifications, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss a beat. Hey everyone, welcome back to Toy Habits. I'm Michael.
And I'm the Toy Sorceress, and you're watching Toy Habits Live. How you doing today, Michael?
I am great. How are you doing?
I am fantastic. I had a very busy week. I'm exhausted, but I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm good. So I built my shed last week, spent
Yes.
8 hours doing it, and so yesterday I started filling it up. So
Oh,
I'm
that's always fun.
moving stuff out of the garage and into that shed, which is making a lot of space in the garage, which we never had before, which is nice.
That's fantastic. Now we have to see how those things are going to fare during the summer temperatures.
Yes.
That's the experiment. So you're going to move stuff that's not super important to the shed first.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so I don't want to. Yeah, it gets hot where I live, and so I don't want to go out to like one big melted mess one day and be like, "Oh, there goes my mask collection."
I know, right? Don't put anything expensive and vintage in there.
I know, right?
So,
But
so the mailman brought me something quite exciting this week, and hence why I'm wearing Lion-O
oh,
today. That I thought I'd share, but it's
do
kind of
it,
large.
do it, do it.
All right, you guys
I
ready?
wonder what it is. Oh,
There it is.
whoa!
The Thunder Tank finally came. I know a lot of people already have theirs, but I ordered mine from Amazon. Here's its big claws.
That's awesome.
Now you can see that the sucker. Here we got the Lion-O, Panthro in there, and then Chitara took a dump because when I lifted her up. But
Did you say she
it's
took
got
a dump?
room for seven kitties. This thing's incredible. I have not had too much time to play around with it. I did do a fun photo shoot, posted a whole bunch of pictures on Instagram, but I love it. And right now it's parked in the other room because I just have no space. And the spot I thought I was going to put it in, Michael, when I said I was going to park it under the coffee table, I went to roll it underneath, and the the Thundercat symbol that's kind of raised on the top hit the edge of the coffee table. So I was like, okay, well that spot's gone.
Yeah, well, maybe put some little risers underneath the coffee table and make a little bit of clearance. Maybe that's another workaround.
Yeah, that could work. But I emptied off a spot on the desk in the other room, so right now it's
Awesome.
living there. But it's nicely displayed, so it's good.
That's great. So cool. Yeah,
I
that
know. I
that
love
thunder
it.
tank is amazing.
It is, and you kept daring me, like, are you gonna get one, and where are you gonna put it? So here
Yep.
it is. It finally made it.
Well, I'm tired of you making me spend a lot of money, and so now it was my turn for you
That
to
was
spend.
your payback, right?
Yes, like getting me into stinking hot Star Wars again and Hot Toys. Thanks.
Hey, but you know what? This was a great deal because it was $50 less than everywhere else. I bought it on Amazon, and it was
Yeah,
free shipping.
that's
So,
good.
and they delivered it in really good condition. I mean, I was surprised.
Awesome.
It's Super Seven that did a great job packing it up because it's like in like almost triple boxed.
Nice.
Yeah. So we've got a bunch of people here in the chat. We have a fun show for everyone today. Um, Michael, do you want to go through the chat or do you want me to?
Let's see. We can. Yeah, I can run through it. We got
Well, yeah.
Damien, Hylian Dread, Frank Pryor, crew member, Giraffe, who is another crew member, Robert, another crew member, um, Beast Mode, Thundercats 85. I bet he loved that particular demo of the Thunder Tank. King Panther is here. Brennan Barnes is in the house, another crew member. Thomas is in the house. We have Clint, crew member, Cowabunga Dude, Giraffe, who is amazingly funny, Addy Boy. What's up, Cora? Cyber Mace or Cyber Mawan, Fright Zone, Cooler O'Connor, Thomas, and now I'm starting to lose track. Sunny, Danny, and if I butcher your name, apologies. Suisi List, Sorry. 70s.
See, I knew there were a bunch of hard names in here, Michael. That's why I asked you to do it.
I know, yeah. Thank you.
I'm
I
just kidding.
appreciate it. Jace Traver, what's up? All Music fan. Antonio, Derek. All right. I think we're Thomas, Lance, Craig, the Rickster. What's up, Allison, another crew member. We have Studio Henge, Kenton, another crew member who joined recently. What is up? And if I say your name twice, it's because I lost track. Derek, Diego, and I think we are running down the list. So I think we are good. Awesome. And before we bring on our special guest, I wanted to just give a quick shout out to our Growing Toy Habits crew. We appreciate your support, and we can't have the channel without community. So it really means a lot to us. And thank you for the support. All right. So we are so excited to bring on our special guest today. And I can't believe this is happening, and two, that we're actually getting to talk live with this person. So before we bring him on, we wanted to give you a little background on the man, the myth, the legend who started the indispensable site for MOTU information, the Battle Ram blog. His name is Adam, and he started the Battle Ram blog back in 2015, which is a website devoted to plumbing the depths of the history of the Masters of the Universe toys. He has written more than 250 articles on the topic and has interviewed many original creators, including the legendary Mark Taylor, Ted Mayer, and Rudy Obrero. And he's also a contributing writer of the Toys of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe that was published in 2021. And he also consulted with the producers of the Toys That Made Us on their He-Man episode. Wow. That was a great episode.
Wow. That was a great episode.
His work has been republished in several issues of the Spanish MOTU magazine, Mundo Masters. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give a huge Toy Habits welcome to Adam from the Battle Ram blog. Adam, welcome to the show. So happy to have you here.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. I'm going to start feeling a little full of myself after that. But it's really, really nice of you and Toy Sorcerers to have me on. I really appreciate it.
Welcome, Adam. We are so honored to have you on our live stream today. And I got to tell you, your site is an incredible resource. We often cite it in doing research on our articles, as you know, and we link back to your site always. But you have such a deep history and knowledge of all things MOTU. And, I think the MOTU community has to give a huge thanks to everything you've done and created with your blog. It's incredible.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And I always get like a little ping when you guys link back to my site, which I appreciate. I've been following Toy Habits too for the last couple of years. Just you guys are always on the spot. Any rumor, anything that's coming up for MOTU Origins or Masterverse, you guys are like on it.
We try.
It's so funny because I found myself doing this just in my normal routine of just looking for stuff. And I was like, okay, why don't we just make a site and start cataloging all this stuff that we find? But we appreciate it. It's funny that you get pings. I think that's how you reached out to me too.
Yep.
Oh, nice.
Which was cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I think you probably get ping from us like once a week or something. We're probably...
I do. Yep.
But that's awesome. I mean, you must have been stoked when you heard that Mattel was making the Origins line.
Oh yeah, and especially the first few sort of exclusives that they were doing. They did the sort of mini comic He-Man and Prince Adam set, and then followed by the Lords of PowerCon exclusive, like all of the sort of mini comic prototype inspired figures. Those are my all-time favorites. I'm a guaranteed buy on anything like that. So I've been kind of like for years advocating, like back when Super 7 had the license, like, come on, let's do an original mummy face Skeletor or a Red Beast Man or this mini comic Merman. So it was great. Mattel actually took it up and did it.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I think like with your deep knowledge and history of all things MOTU, like I'm sure that you're digging all of the variants, the new Eternia line and things like that. Just wanted to highlight Studio Hinge Kenton's comment. To be honest, it's the Battle Ram blog that got me interested in the parts reuse of MOTU a few years ago. It's the main reason I got into Origins and revisit often. So yeah, there's a lot of love for you in the chat right now.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
Which is cool. Now, what is your take on the new Eternia line? Because basically all of the concept stuff that we get to source, like if we hear or, you know, come up with a leak that there is some new Eternia figure on the horizon, your site has all of the concept art amazingly well laid out in these articles.
Yeah, no, the new Eternia stuff, of the Masterverse, it's always the new Eternia stuff that I like the best. I think this He-Man and Skeletor are particularly good, and none of them are exactly like, they're not one to one. This looks exactly like some old drawing or prototype, but they've just, you know, you can see like, oh, okay, they took this from the first drawing, and then they got the armor from this other drawing, and so it's kind of a neat mashup of all these old sources.
Yeah, it's incredible to look through that, you know, the concept art and see where different ideas got inspired, and how all the various characters got their traits and signature, you know, like looks and all of that kind of stuff. That's the funnest part, to see like kind of the history and the origin of, you know, how they became what they are today. And all these characters that we know and love, and we've got so many different iterations of, but to see where they came from, like, I've got him right here, so that's awesome.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny because I was looking at this concept art, and I was like, the new Eternia Buzz Off, I think, is the one that I think is deviated from the concept art, I think. And I wonder what you were thinking about that too.
Yeah, I think it seems like the Buzz Off is less of the new Eternia line. It seems less inspired by that concept stuff. Admittedly, some of that early concept stuff is a little kooky, like just a He-Man head with a mask on it, right? So I think they were in that case, they were just, let's make a really cool looking Buzz Off. Let's make his face look a little bit more alien and insect like. I don't have him in hand, so I haven't I haven't examined him closely, but he does seem just more his own thing.
That's definitely for sure. We've done both a video review and a review on our website extensively, and you know, you can see his face, that they've done a really great job of kind of modernizing him and bringing back, you know, some of his original roots, giving him a much more insect-like face, and of course the wings that he has, and you know, separating them into kind of separate pieces that makes that look a little bit more realistic, I guess, if you want to start dissecting what an actual bee looks like. I don't know. I'm not you know, I'm not like an insect expert, but yeah, I think it's amazing what they did with that. And Buzz Off did, you know, diverge a lot from his origins, because originally in his concept art he was supposed to be a human in a insect's, you know, costume or mask, and I guess, you know, that didn't fly very well. I just made a pun, but they decided to go with the actual insect look. So I'm glad that they kept Buzz Off to his more traditional look and didn't totally veer the other way.
Yeah. I think he's his own thing. I wouldn't say he's directly referencing 2000X, but it's almost that idea of the 2000X Buzz Off, where they did make him more insect-like and less of, you know, just kind of happy cartoony bee man. But it's their own spin on sort of that idea.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I'm excited about the new Eternia line, and I think this is a good segue before we get into our topic of the day, is to cover off on some of the new Eternia leaks that are coming down the pipeline. So the site foreternia.com actually brought this information to everyone, and we are amplifying that message of the leaked Masters, the Masterverse Wave 11, which includes 2 new Eternia figures. So Man at Arms, which you'll probably recognize the concept art.
Yeah.
We referenced, I'm sure you got pinged from that as well, and also Trapjaw, which is, I just used the classics figure because the deluxe Masterverse one was a little kooky.
It was, for sure.
I still like every time his jaw like gaps open, I like
Yeah.
I can't look at that face.
Yeah, that one was one of my least favorite Masterverse.
I bought them, but
yeah,
I'm happy to hear we're going to get a new version of them for sure.
Yeah,
something that's going to look more traditional would be great.
Yeah, and I think interesting enough, the concept art that you have on the Battle Ram blog, I think it looks a lot more like his mini comic version.
right.
So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they do with that, and also it looks like he's wearing like a metal like tin hat too.
It does.
Like
he's a little more Frankenstein-y. Yeah, little Tin Man, a little Frankenstein. Yeah, and this isn't colored, but you pretty much, you can kind of look. The mini comic version really follows the outline of the basic design here, so he probably was intended to have that yellowy green skin with this particular design. I don't know if they're going to do that for the new version, or if they'll go with blue, but yeah, definitely a hairy chest.
I never pictured Trapjaw with a hairy chest. I don't know why.
I know, right?
No.
That'd be funny if they actually made it look something like this.
Yeah. Could you imagine? This is incredible. Like, how do you source all this great, concept sketches and all of this information? And you don't have to reveal your sources.
Yeah.
But,
No, I mean,
it's very interesting in how you get, all this history put together.
So some of it's just stuff that kind of predates my work. Like that particular one, I know it was published in some previous books that came out. A lot of it is sourced from the Power and the Honor Foundation. They did kind of their own independent, low-run series of books. I've also reached out directly to creators like Ted Mayer, who designed the Battle Ram. He sent me a bunch of his artwork.
Nice.
I talked to a couple of others who sent me some things. Like I got some of the artwork for the new Adventures figures. So it's not just me. It's I do build off a lot of other people's work, but I think probably what makes mine a little different is I'm putting everything together. So you have the full story of Trapjaw, the full story of Zodak, and that was really what I was trying to do. Just I want everything about Zodak's development and all in one place.
No, it's an incredible resource. It definitely is.
Yeah, and that totally comes through too. Like I think when I first I've been visiting your site for a very long time, and that's what I noticed too, is just one really comprehensive look at each figure, and I love that it's all put together. Well, actually, what made you what gave you the idea to start this in the first place?
A lot of it was just because I'd been reading about just little tidbits here and there. The people would talk on forums like, "Oh, hey, wouldn't it be cool to have like a mini comic, Merman?" And I would find bits and pieces about the development here and there. But as I started to learn more and more, I would kind of lose track of what I was learning. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna start a little free blog just for myself. I'm gonna start putting it down, and then as people found it eventually, and it started kind of snowballing.
That's awesome.
That's incredible.
It's so cool. And I guess one other segue to the topic that we're going to be talking about today is also just looking at the leaks that might be coming down the line in 2024 too, because what we've heard from basically 2 of the figures in Wave 15 and 2 of the figures in Wave 16 are going to be Filmation style figures. And He-Man is a little bit of a head scratcher, but we're guessing it's probably going to be a repack from that 4-pack that is still sitting on Mattel Creations. But and these are Man-at-Arms, Skeletor, and Beastman are stand-ins from the Super 7 line because, of course, we didn't have any pictures. But
yeah, but those are some incredible, figures there to actually start getting the Filmation style characters worked into the Origins line. I mean, I have almost all of the figures from the Super 7 line. I really loved them. Of course, the articulation was basic. It's just like the vintage toys. So I'm super happy to hear this news. But Adam, what do you think about this and then bringing the Filmation style into Origins?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good fit. I mean, it's a really good way to refresh some of the main characters, and they're not like some obscure 2000X repaint. These are very popular variants. I do like them. I will say the He-Man one that they did in that 4-pack, I didn't really like the face. The face wasn't doing it for me.
Yeah.
It didn't. It looked like he had a duck face. He's pouting or something.
Yeah, he was a little pouty. I agree.
Yeah. So I don't know. I hope they'll. Sometimes most of their faces are good, but once in a while they don't hit the mark. So I hope they'll.
It's only with He-Man and Skeletor. Why is that?
Yeah.
The two main characters, right?
Yeah, everybody else pretty much is pretty good. And I would say, what's his name, Cronus from the Keldor Cronus pack. He looked a bit off to me too.
Yeah.
Poor Cronus. Someone I actually was in a Target the other day, and someone had shoved him in a Road Ripper box, which was so sad. I'm like, they didn't want him that badly. They neck and neck. I know.
The repacks are horrible. Yeah, I usually bring the repacks up to the customer support or the customer service desk. Like, get off the floor so you don't.
Cronus can't cut a break, man.
I know, right? Like, don't spoil Jimothy's Christmas or his birthday because his mom's not going to know that this video.
And he's gonna be pissed.
But
neck and neck.
I know, right? But yeah, I'm excited that they're bringing the possibility of them bringing the Filmation characters in the line, and I think that's what attracted me to the 7-inch Super 7 line. I think that one was really well done. But
they need to do Prince Adam. Robert's absolutely right. I mean, that would be really cool.
You know what they need to do is Cringer. He's barely gotten any love.
Yeah,
I know. Cringer's got no love. You know how long it's taken me? I actually just acquired a Cringer, and it cost me a mint because I had to buy another figure with it that I didn't quite want. But this has to happen, Mattel.
Yep.
We got to get Cringer. He can't be a repaint of Battle Cat with just the little color on his face. Like, he needs to be smaller, articulated, and
a little snaggletooth.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah,
with a little tooth, of course.
It's funny because I think for He-Man being the front and center face of Masters of the Universe per se, I think I agree with Pop Actor. They still haven't gotten his face right, and it's over the years they've had this issue, and I think especially with some of the later Masterverse figures, the 40th anniversary, and that kind of dreadful movie version that they made.
Oh my god!
Oh yeah, that was the worst face ever. That was terrible.
But yeah, I think I think what Mattel is doing, and I know that a lot of viewers and also just people who comment on the channel and on our website, they want Mattel to finish out the vintage line, but I think in order for us to continue finishing out the vintage line, we're going to be getting things like Filmation characters and just other repaints that are going to be going in the line. So
yeah. I mean, that makes sense. They did that with classics too. They would seed every year. You'd get a handful of the main core MOTU, but you'd also get concepts and Princess of Power and 2000X and all kinds of stuff.
Yep. That's for sure.
Yes. So, all right. So, I think with the remaining figures that we have left, we're going to run through the list and talk about them because they're really the latter
Yeah.
part of the Masters of the Universe line, they started to get like really kooky designs and like really
Yes, they
cool,
did.
really cool action features. And the
Mhm.
first one that we are going to showcase here is Blast Attack, which is kind of apropos because we are still in the Rise of the Snake Men, but I don't see
Mhm.
Blast Attack on the horizon just yet. We haven't heard any leaks
No.
for it, but it's definitely a cool figure.
He's interesting. He's very like cyber, not cyberpunk. I was going to say, what is it? Steampunk kind of
Yeah.
character.
Yeah.
He looks like a big tea kettle, basically.
I never thought about that. That's a good comparison there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So have you seen this figure and kind of how it works? Because I'm assuming that the plunger plugs into him and you can split them apart that way.
It does, yeah. The plunger splits. It plugs into the back, and you basically you push the button, and it forces open this little pinchers and that kind of triggers like a little latch in the back, and that splits the character in half.
Okay, got it. And
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because I think a lot of people forget that Blast Attack is part of the Snake Men.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was in the Snake Man in the comics. He's not called out that way on the packaging, so it's a little more ambiguous. But I think they probably just threw him in there because there's only 5 Snake Men, so it's like let's put another guy in the Snake Men.
I like that.
Yeah.
But I think interesting, I guess, with Mattel, either punting on some of the action features, keeping some of them. I'm wondering what they might do with this one because I think, yeah. I mean, what's your opinion on this one? Like, retain it.
My guess. I mean, it's I don't know. I've had it. I've owned it before. I don't own it currently, but it's not the most exciting action feature, honestly. I mean, it is kind of his whole purpose for being. I think it'd be cool. I mean, he's going to be 100% or almost 100% new tool anyway. If you look at all of his parts, they could maybe reuse the boots or something. But I don't know. It might be just like this figure's already costed out with all the parts and we can't add. I hope at least they do like an explosion effect, like a little transparent blast effect or something on him.
Oh, neat.
Wow, that would be very cool. I mean, he is probably more of a one-off. There's not a lot of little to no reusable parts. You got his boots and his hands.
Yeah,
that's probably about it, right? So, I don't know if he'll come down further down the line and then maybe just a repaint or two, but there's no really variants of him. So I don't know how Mattel would get all their dollars back from tooling for him. That's the hard part, right?
I suppose they could fudge on maybe the arms. Some of that could go into if they did like a New Adventures Skeletor or some of those New Adventures ones that have all kinds of tech parts. They might be able to kind of fudge it that way.
Yeah, and maybe this is the way they fudge it is they basically make characters that they know people will buy to fund all of this stuff. So like this is where the Filmation characters are probably coming in, and I think with the winding down of the Rulers of the Sun, and also it's the 40th anniversary of She-Ra, so we don't know what's going to happen in 2024. So it's like there's a bunch of things that are swirling around in my head: She-Ra, Powers of Grayskull, and then finishing out the vintage line.
Yeah, they've got a lot of runway, a lot of room to go. So we'll see. We'll see if we get a Blast Attack.
Yes, and
this is an interesting one.
Yes, and another kooky one with a cool action feature is Dragstore, who's part of the Horde, and I think one of what Hordak's experiments that he's
Yeah, one of many. Yeah, he's I'm going to say he's probably my least favorite Horde member, and not that he's even bad. It's just the other ones are so good. Like I love like the just crazy monsters in the Horde. He's a little bit more subdued. If you look at his face, he's got a reptile face, but other than that, he's more. It looks like a human Dragstore kind of, or human Road Ripper almost.
Right.
Crossed with a muscle car or motorcycle or something.
It's like you could see a ramen racer MOTU.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's interesting. I didn't notice that he had like more of a reptilian face, or it's actually the eyes that are kind of peeking out.
Yeah.
That look
Yeah.
like the reptile.
There's a little helmet there. Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
yeah, I think his body is aside from like the tire, I guess he's one of the first MOTU figures with a spare tire in his gut. So.
This is true. He's got the dad bod going on.
Yeah, he's got the dad bod already.
And the thing is, on this one, the tire spans across the torso where that joint would be to pull them apart. So, this would require a little bit different engineering in terms of how the rest of the Origins figures are made. So you got to wonder if he's on the cards for that.
My guess is just in classics, I know they basically did that as an armor piece, and then the tire sort of hung down right over that part, but he had normal articulation otherwise. My guess is
was the tire able to spin?
No, it was just like a quarter of a tire just sculpted over, on the armor.
That's kind of boring. It's got to roll.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
He's actually fun to play with, though.
Oh,
the vintage one.
Well, that's the whole point, right? If he doesn't roll, what's the point in?
I know, right? Allison makes a good point. So Allison Troy she also studies all the tooling, and we had her on I think a month ago, or I forget if it was a month ago, but we were talking about a lot of the figures that Mattel could produce using all the retools, and so she was saying that Axel used blast attack legs in some of his classics concepts, but there aren't any vintage figure reuse, and I think that goes for a lot of the stuff towards the end of the line. Like there is really not a ton of parts reuse that we're going to be seeing.
Yeah, a lot of this is new tooling for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and I really don't know how much it costs to tool one of these things, and so I'm hoping all of the stuff that they're making and producing will fund all these figures, because I would hate to see they get 80% there and they're like, okay, we're moving on to something else. That would suck.
Yeah. My understanding is, or at least last I heard, it could be more by now, but if you want something close to a fully tooled figure, it could be $100,000 for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which of course they can make back, but they do have their margins that they want to maintain.
Yeah, so I guess this list is we're looking at almost $2 million in tooling here with this list.
Yeah.
Jeez. That's nuts. But with some of the tooling, with the next figure, Hurricane Hordak, that we could see, a lot of reuse of that one. So
yeah, a lot of this is just regular Hordak. The new the new forearm attachment, and I assume again this is not going to have the action feature because there would be no articulation in that arm. Hopefully they'll at least make it free spinning on the attachment so you can manually spin it.
Yeah, I could see that easily happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to make a comment about some of and also in the later Masters figures, on the single carded figures, they also started introducing those little extra caricatures that they only have on the deluxe packaging, like they do with Hordak. So
yeah. A lot of those were either early on, some of them were done by Errol McCarthy, who did a lot of the card back art.
Oh, cool.
But they also brought in Bruce Timm to do a lot of those too, and he's a famous comic book artist.
That's my favorite characters are the ones that got the original art in the front, and I gotta say, obviously the Sorceress and King Randor of the vintage figures do have that additional illustrations on the front. It just adds some kind of extra charm to it that really makes that package look fantastic. So I would love to see them do that to more of the single carded figures that are not Mattel Creations exclusives. And I know it costs more money, but they're doing well. Come on, Mattel.
Yeah, they've done some I think they did that for some of the deluxe ones tend to have Leech, I think, and
all the deluxe figures do have it, but the single carded figures they don't, unless they're a Mattel Creations exclusive, and then those get that additional treatment. So it'd be great to see now that we're all the way into wave 14 and forward, to get some of these new ones for retail releases with that extra art on it. Because, like, you know, to walk up and see it on the peg, it just looks so great.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I've never owned this one, so but it seems like it'd be a pretty fun toy. Probably another one like Cyclone where you wear your thumb out spinning
Yep.
the little wheel on this back.
I know.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that would finish out the horde then, you know, in the Origins line. Aside from we're actually just covering figures today and not vehicles or creatures, so that would finish out the horde for the Origins line. And I think back then this was a deluxe figure, and Giraffe made a funny comment that the poor Hordak has his left leg floating around in the bottom.
Yeah, you see that sometimes.
But I guess
man.
with the size of those attachments, that you probably can't just cram them into a single carded figure.
Probably not.
Yeah.
No.
All right. Moving on to a figure that's been teased a couple times now on the Origins card back is Extendar. So he's been teased in like his normal form in an illustration, then also he was turned to stone on Snake Face's card back. So hopefully we see him soon.
Yeah, he's kind of, and I'm trying to think of like, would it be any easier not to have the action feature than to have it? Because I think they would still have the same articulation.
Yeah,
for the most part, if they retained it. I don't know if they're saving any money by getting rid of that feature.
Yeah, that's a good point, because the way that they handled it in Classics is very different, right? It had a ton of little extensions that you peg in.
Yep. Yeah,
but
just like the Mechanic that they just did.
Yes. Yeah. Poor Mechanic. I'm not sure what to think about him, because I would love that twisting neck feature. And I don't know, what are your thoughts on that? I know we're not talking about Mechanic right now, but you know, if they release a single carded figure or Mattel Creations exclusive, I think that'd be a good way to go.
I think that would make sense. And they could even do it where you just manually pull up the neck, and then the neck is like buried in the chest, and you just pull it up. Which I think would even be better than the vintage toy, because you could have his neck extended without him having to be turned halfway over. You know,
that's a great idea.
That was a little annoying thing about Mechanic. I mean, it was fun to like make his neck pop up, but then he was like twisted all the time.
Right.
Pop actor Extendar is a poor man's Mechanic.
Yeah, this is them. Like they would often like, okay, they did an action feature. Okay, we need another toy. Let's reuse that action feature in a new character.
Yeah, and I think even if you retain the extension of the figure, and that's still, you could actually still make the swappable arms and legs, right? Because that doesn't hinder any of that. It's just pretty much from the knee down and from the elbow down, right?
Yeah.
I
hope they'll do it.
Yeah, I do too. And I would trade off articulation for this, you know, for that action feature.
Definitely.
Yeah, he's definitely he's one of the most unique looking figures. There's nobody in the line that really looks like this at all, with the pearl and gold, just very, very different look for a MOTU figure.
Yeah, it's interesting, because a lot of the pictures that we come across for the Mechanics, like they're the gold, I don't know if they use like a copper color, but it's all patinaed.
Yeah, it's kind of like Too Bad's legs or Roboto's legs. Something in the plastic is breaking down, showing through those gloves.
Yep.
Yeah. He'd be a fun one.
Yeah.
So, all right. Yeah, very, very cool figure. And then, I think next up, so I think we did the power, I forget what we did week after week, but I think we covered off on
last week.
The Powers of Grayskull last week. So, you know, towards the end of the line, you know, and these were only produced in Europe, but the laser power He-Man, they definitely have to make this.
Yeah, they've been teasing this for a while on some of the Axel's packaging art. This one and the laser figures are my number one ones.
Oh,
just
Yep.
because
I agree.
I personally love them, but they're so hard. You like if you want to get a vintage one, you got to pay out the nose. So let's
Mhm.
let's make one that's affordable, right?
Exactly. That's why both of these Laser Power He-Man and Laser Light Skeletor were on my wish list for the Powers of Grayskull. So I'm right there with you, Adam. I can't wait for these to come out. And I really want them to have their like light up action features because that'll be
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, absolutely. That's essential.
And
I-
which head would you prefer? Do you want them to pack like both heads? Because it'll be a deluxe figure anyway. I guess we might
Yeah,
as well get both style heads in there, right?
definitely both. I mean, if they could only do one, I'd prefer the quote unquote Dolph head.
Mhm.
Just because we've already got the standard
There's so
head.
many of
It'd
you,
be
right?
great. Yeah, exactly.
That's so true.
Yeah, and these were kind of a lead into New Adventures. They were just something extra that they did because the European market wasn't dead yet.
Mhm.
They were looking at potentially new designs for a TV show, like a live action TV show. They were
Oh,
exploring
wow.
that never went off the ground, but that was kind of along the same lines as Captain Power. It would have been probably somewhat similar to Captain Power
I
in
love that show.
sort of budget and scope.
I'm gonna
And they have
blow your mind like saying that stuff because I've got Captain Power
Yeah.
laser set right here.
there you go.
I
Yeah,
just
Versus
have
that-
it in my closet.
It's awesome. It's just like every time you mention something, she's like, "Whoop, I got it."
you're on the
I'm
case.
totally messing with Adam right now, but I just had to do that because that was like a random toy.
Yeah. So, and some of the early versions of it, he seemed to have some kind of something on his belt that may have been like a sensor. So it could have been, like triggered by something on the TV show. That might have been a feature. I know they were looking at like power crystal, something to do with like the power crystal was kind of the MacGuffin. Like everybody had to try to get that, and that maybe that would have powered this as well. But it kind of evolved into just this sort of one-off toy that they did.
Yeah, definitely really cool. And yeah, I have the classics version of Laser Power He-Man and Laser Light Skeletor, and it would definitely be neat to have have them sitting in the background with their lights flickering.
Yeah.
I have both of those figures too. They're incredible, and they're standing actually right next to my classic Titus. So
Nice.
as they should be.
Yes.
Which is another one we need to get, but that's another story.
So, Adam, you were saying that Laser Light Skeletor is your number one. But is this number one, or like these Laser Light figures? Are they like number one out of the remaining figures?
Everything you want.
Yes. Out of all of these are my number one most wanted, especially Laser Light Skeletor.
Wow.
I know he's kind of creepy and weird looking. He's very much like if you were to straighten out his legs and repaint him a little, he looks very close to like the New Adventures Skeletor design.
Yep, that's true.
The reason why he's squatting like that is just because of the weight of the battery pack. They had to do that to get him to balance. Yeah.
That's
So the
actually a really
nickname,
good point there.
the nickname that Mattel had for him and behind the scenes was Taking a Dump Skeletor because of that.
I never thought about it that way.
Okay, I need somebody to make a custom carded figure of this and just call it Taking a Dump Skeletor.
Yeah.
That's
a little commode on the illustration on the card.
I love it. Like I love that you have that knowledge because I've always wondered why he was squatting like that, and I didn't really think about the balancing act that they had to do with that. But it'd be interesting, I guess, with technology now and things getting really, really small. Maybe that's not so much of an issue, but it's like the trying to figure out what that battery compartment would look like, because on some of the Hot Toys figures that I have, like the batteries are so tiny and they can fit inside of inside of an arm or something else.
Yeah, hopefully they just do a button cell battery. I mean, they can keep the backpack or not, but just they don't need the big heavy single double A battery back there for sure.
Skeletor
or 9-volt.
Number 2 Skeletor. Oh my gosh. I could probably
great.
talk. I could like my the 12-year-old boy is going to be coming out pretty soon. I guess it's probably out.
So it's interesting enough because this is the first time we saw what the back of Skeletor's head looks like because he had a soft cloak on there. Do you have any insight as to, was there any discussion amongst the people at Mattel, like what should we do and how he looks? And obviously this version of Skeletor looks much more like robotic or has some kind of mechanical circuitry running through him, and so when you see the back of his head, you can see kind of those like little conduit lines and kind of electrical nodes running back there as well.
So I interviewed the designer of this, David Wolfram. He basically was a big fan of H.R. Giger, those kinds of designs. So he did a lot of experiments with what would Skeletor look like with all kinds of technology infused in or throughout his body. I did know that, he didn't have any sort of like reason like why he did the skull that way. You don't normally see him without the hood, or if you did see them with the hood back a little bit, normally it was just the yellow skull all the way back, kind of. And his is more, I don't know. Some of it almost looks like it's not all that skull. There's maybe some rotted skin, and then the technology on top of that. So I think it's just maybe that gross out factor from that influence that he had.
Yep. Yeah, that's for sure. It's really interesting because that's the first time we get to see it, and seeing their interpretation in this version of Skeletor was pretty fun. And I've never had this one in hand. Again, I just have the classics figure, but it'd be really cool to see how they interpret this in Origins. I'm super excited. When I saw these teased on the CamoCon card art, like Ask Michael, I went through the roof. I was like, oh my God, figures. We're gonna get them. So
absolutely.
Here's hoping.
Yeah, and I mean, like, we have to have figures to go with the Eternia playset, right? Because it's coming out in 2024, and you have to. Yes, you can throw your old Origins figures in there, but I don't think it's going to look the same. They have to.
And Adam, I don't know if I'm sure you watched this, and I've mentioned this a couple times, but at the presser event when they were showing off Eternia, they did show a sketch of the upcoming, concept art for the box for Eternia.
Yeah.
Right in the center of that was Laser Power He-Man, Laser Light Skeletor battling it out right in front of Eternia. So you got to think by the time that thing ships in spring of 2024, which by the way, Modi sent out a notice saying we were 6 months out from Eternia, and then he corrected himself and said, no, he's coming in the spring. But that means that we got to get these two figures before we get Eternia in hand, because you got to recreate that box art.
Yep,
that's right. Yeah, you got to have those guys posed in front, otherwise it's not going to be complete, right?
Yes, and speaking of figures that won't be complete if they don't make them, they have to make the Giants and Megator.
Yes,
definitely.
All right, we're way ahead of you.
Yeah. This is another one. I'd say the Giants are next in line for my most excited about. And again, some of that's just I don't have $1,000 to buy a vintage Megator.
Right, or three.
Or three.
The operative question for you: rooted hair or plastic hair? Which one would you prefer?
I mean, I tend to like plastic hair, but for this, I want it as vintage as possible. So I want to see rooted hair for sure.
Absolutely agree with you. Same here.
Yeah, I mean, make it so like if you pose it like that, I know it'll have more articulation, but I want to put it on my shelf, and I want it to look just like that, but with just some joint cuts, and that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, totally.
Absolutely.
And do you know how many of these Giants are like? Do you know how many they produced back in the day? I know that there's not many of them out there.
I don't. I know. The other thing I know is there was initially some. They were planned in the U.S. at first. Unlike Laser Power He-Man, Laser Light Skeletor, those were never planned for the U.S. Those were just an extra. But these were going to be made in Mexico. There might be even a Titus that was made in Mexico, but I think it's pretty limited numbers. I don't have a figure. A lot of made in Italy ones, I think, for this one is where most of them came from.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think most of them made it to Italy in terms of the Giant. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think Cora brings up a good point. She suspects Megator and Titus could be a Mattel Creations exclusive if they make them. So
Bring them on, man.
I know, right? Like the box art alone, I would feel like that would have to be some, like, because I wouldn't want this on a carded figure. Like,
No.
Oh no. We need that whole window box with the
Yep.
little like, Powers of Grayskull display going on all the way around it. That's a must.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
He's got quite a lot of detail too. If you look at like one closely, there's a fair amount of detail, more than you would typically see, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot going on in there.
Oh yeah, and I've heard some people say like, oh, if they did a giant, it would be more like the Andre the Giant they did with the Masters of the WWE Universe line. That's like a little bit taller than everyone else,
Right.
but you have to do the full figure on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and these guys, if you had the classics versions, those were 12 inches. These guys are much bigger. I think they're more like 16 inches or so,
geez.
16, 17.
Wow.
So they are big figures.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's so cool. Yes, and yeah, you can't have Megator without his counterpart Titus. And I always thought that he had like a really interesting weapon there.
Yeah, the bad guy vacuum cleaner.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. I feel like I don't know, he should have come with like a big axe or a hammer. As you know, I know it's an action feature. You can grab King S or whatever, but I don't know. He just looks like a Viking, or maybe like a Thor kind of character. So he needs like a blunt weapon.
He was a door-to-door salesman for Hoover, apparently, on his
right. Yeah.
Right.
That's funny. But yeah, I mean, similar to Megator. Yeah, I actually didn't realize how large these figures were, because sometimes I don't see them in scale with the other figures. So I'd assume that these were just.
I assume they were 12 inches, but that's very interesting to hear that they were even bigger than that. I guess when you get your scale, and you can see how large Titus is there in the illustration, and he's got Hero right there at his feet.
Yeah.
So that's number one on my list in terms of Powers of Grayskull. But
Hero and Eldor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, the toy sorceress definitely wants those.
Yeah, I dig Titus. He's a little unusual because most of there is that barbarian thing in Masters of the Universe, but he's a little more pure barbarian. He doesn't, he looks like he could be like from Dungeons and Dragons or Conan type of
Conan,
line.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
gives you that vibe.
Totally. Yeah. Pop actor says it's Chris. Yeah, I guess they did an early Chris Hemsworth here. So.
I love Giraffe's interpretation. Fabio head sculpture. That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah, it's interesting too. Like, I guess going back to to Megator's box art, there's Sharella down there, and so there's a lot more they can do with figures that, and I know we're talking about the ones that they need to make to finish out the vintage line, but Sharella is one I think on everyone's list that they really want.
Yeah, we've never had a Sharella, so that'd be great. Yeah, they could stretch this out into infinity if they really want to.
They could. Yeah, I guess if they're diving into the Filmation line, like they could basically recreate most of the figures there too. I think it'd be interesting too, like, because who was it, Clawful, that looked nothing like Clawful looked nothing like the figure Clawful. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I never liked the look of Clawful. I mean, they should do them, but just the Filmation Clawful. He's got little claws and he's all red. I don't know. He doesn't quite have the same magic for me as the toy version.
Yeah,
I totally agree with you, Adam, on that one. I mean, he needs his like bushy eyebrows and the big eyes, and the toy version of Clawful was so much better. And I don't know which one came first. I don't know if you have any insight onto, did Filmation create him as a character first, and then Mattel made him
Yeah.
into a toy? Was it vice versa, or were they maybe independently created, and that's why they don't even look like each other?
So he was designed by the same guy who did Trapjaw, Colin Bailey. But we don't have.
Okay.
I talked to a guy who worked with Colin. He said that we just don't have any concept art for him though. So the assumption is probably the early concept art looked something like what you see on Filmation, because they would often get that early concept art and it would take them forever to develop the episodes. And meanwhile, Mattel had taken the character in a different direction so that you get a different look.
That explains it.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very interesting. And I think another actually, I want to backtrack on my comment about the Horde because I totally forgot about these next figures.
Oh, yeah.
We've got 2 more Hordes, right?
Yeah,
2 more
we do. Yes, I totally had forgotten about those because I forgot to put them up with the Horde. But yeah, I would love this one, especially like the box design. I think the box design is fantastic.
Oh yeah.
I'm surprised it's because. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Twist.
No. I was just gonna say Modulok's been teased several times. He was on the back of the She-Ra card art. We've seen him teased several times, but it would be great. And we know that we just got the chest for Frogmonger that matches that of Modulok. And as a matter of fact, I don't know if you had this on your site, Adam, but there was a sketch for Frogmonger, and it had his various parts were labeled, and his chest said like Modulok chest on it.
Oh,
so
interesting.
It was a dead giveaway on this little concept art for him.
Yeah. That'd be interesting if they do it that way, because if they use the Frogmonger chest, he's going to be a much bigger figure than he was in the vintage line. He was pretty slim.
Exactly. Yeah.
So he'd be kind of like this bulked up Modulok.
Yep.
But every Origins figure is kind of Modulok. They've got the same action feature that Modulok had, so it's surprising that it's taken so long to get to him.
I know.
Yeah, it's probably just so many parts that they have to. I guess they'll have to shut down the factory for a day. Just like parts.
That's so true. I never thought about that.
Yeah, but he's one of my favorite Horde characters. I always loved Modulok.
I wonder if I don't know if you know anything about the origin of Modulok and how he came to be, but just in my head, Michael mentioning tooling. I wonder if they had like all this like tooling laying around, and some executive back in the day at Mattel said, how can we cash in on this? And they're like, well, we can build all these little parts from all these tools we have and like throw them in a box and like have them connect together. I mean, is that the way like Modulok was dreamed up in some executive's head to try and get the most out of all this tooling they had?
Well, all of his tooling was unique when he came out, but I know he was designed by Ted Mayer. And Ted Mayer also did Battle Ram, Wind Raider. He did Eternia, Talon Fighter. I think the idea was it was a general idea, like you can have a figure that can swap out pieces, so you can sort of build a figure concept. And Ted did a number of different versions of that. And that's what gave birth to Modulok and then later Multibot.
Yeah. Super cool.
Speaking of Multibot, oops. Here he is.
Multibot.
So yes. So this will finish out the Horde then if they do this one too.
Yeah.
So, but it's funny looking at the boxes, it reminds me like they were started with the plastic free packaging back then too.
Yeah,
that's so true.
They did. He's an interesting. I always thought he was interesting. His colors are different than most any other figure. It's not, typically they get very bright primary, secondary colors. He's got sort of these dark green with a sort of a plum purple and kind of all kinds of sort of tertiary colors in there. Interesting new sculpted parts. He's kind of an oddball, but I like him.
Yeah, he looks like a lot of fun, and I mean, I wonder, if they release this in Origins, if they'll go with, kind of like the brighter colors for him anyway,
Right.
just to make him really pop on your shelf because that's what Origins is known for, and this would be a very exciting one to see come out, with all of the different colors and
Yeah.
swappability, because you could technically probably swap out parts from your other figures into here too, and then
Right.
you've got like millions of combinations at that point.
That's true. You could make just sort of like what's that movie? I'm gonna totally biff the name of the movie, but early '80s movie of body horror transforming alien. Anyway, okay, I'll think of it after the show.
Yeah,
Yeah, not a problem.
yeah, it's funny. I actually didn't notice this until Danny pointed it out. It says all 222 parts can connect with Modular, so you can just build this
Wow.
whole creature. So
Yeah, they have that on one of the William George posters. They have put together like Multibot and Modular together, which is called Multi-Beast.
Oh, neat.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
that's really cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, these figures, I don't know, could you see them as like standard releases, kind of like, I would see a similar box size probably to the Rise of Evil 2-pack, right? Just in that style.
probably. Yeah, I would say it's definitely going to be more expensive. Probably like, I don't know. I would say I wouldn't be surprised if it was as much as 2 figures. It's kind of that many parts. So yeah, probably like a Rise of Evil 2-pack kind of situation.
Yep.
Well, it says you can make 1,000 different robots. So, are they going to charge us the figure price times 1,000? Just because you can create all this?
This is Mattel's way of getting their money back, Michael.
Right. At that point, I'll just go get the vintage one.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
All right, moving on to the next figure. So, question for you: do you see them making the movie figures?
I do. Yeah, I could definitely see that. They will. I imagine they'll probably like Blade. Blade was a little slimmer. He'll probably be more on the standard, Origins buck, with a few new parts on him. But yeah, I definitely see them making it. They have the rights to him, so that they'll do it.
That's true. Yeah, because we only got a subset of movie figures, because there were a lot more characters in the 87 movie. So
there were a ton. It'd be great if they added some more. Like, I'd love to see like that Evil Lynn and from the 87 movie, and Attila and Man at Arms. They had some pretty great designs.
Yeah, that'd be incredible.
Yeah, the Beastman would be amazing too, because there's just a very different looking Beastman.
Yeah, he's kind of a Grizzlor Beastman.
Yeah,
hybrid almost.
Well, there's part reuse there. They can.
There you go. Where else are you going to use that furry buck, right?
Yeah.
But interestingly, so yeah, this is where you can see some of the extra card art or the illustration on the single carded figures too. So yeah, I never had this one. I don't know if you've had a chance to play with it, but does it kind of like swing like this? I think it's like from the.
Yeah, he's kind of like if you basically he's spring loaded. Both arms are spring loaded, and the waist is spring loaded. So you can kind of play with that and get him to sort of slash back and forth with both swords.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's basically his thing.
Kind of like what they did with Flying Fist He-Man, sort of, where
except for without the twist. It's just manually, make it, and it'll spring back, if you do both arms.
Yeah. Allison with her parts reuse hat on, they could reuse Filmation Mossman head for movie Beastman. So
there you go.
Yeah. She always has tooling in mind.
You still need the first Mossman, Allison. Before they reuse.
We're covering Mossman, right?
We're waiting for him to come out.
Well, no, because he is produced. He just hasn't.
Because we know it. Yeah. Yeah. Just one quick comment about him. I'm so glad they redid the face with the open mouth head instead of like the original closed mouth Beastman that they were going to reuse, and they changed that. Much better looking.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, I totally agree. I just can't wait to get him in hand. But yet
Yeah.
he hasn't come up for sale yet.
No, yeah,
Really?
we've been trying, like, we're trying to do our search magic to figure out
Mhm.
where he is in the Walmart database, but we've come up short. So
Yeah.
one of these
He's
days,
still-
I'm sure he'll pop up, but not
He's
today.
hiding in
I've
the
already-
forest of Eternia. He's not ready to come out yet from the
It's
woods.
funny because, like, every time I start that search, I was like, okay, today's gonna be the day. Today's gonna be the day, and then nope, it's always a letdown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mossman will come.
Yeah,
You just you can't watch. It's like watching a pot of water trying to boil. You can't watch
that's
it.
true.
Mhm.
That's true. It's funny because yeah, it's something, it's a figure that comes up in every single video that we've done, and it doesn't matter what the video topic is, it's where's Mossman. And I even saw it too here and in the chat. It's like, any updates on Mossman? I don't know.
We hear anything, you guys are going to be the first to know.
Yes.
Believe me.
So Gwildor is interesting because I think it would be neat to have the cosmic key just introduced into the
Mhm.
line. And I think
Yeah.
when we were doing the Powers of Grayskull episode last week, we had stuck like a custom Preternia He-Man or Preternia He-Man in there, and it kind of that would be a cool introduction to the cosmic key. But of course, you can have it with Gwildor.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's an interesting one, and he'll be another one that's 100% new tool for probably a figure that some people really like and some people just don't care about it all.
Yeah.
Of course, we gotta hear Mega J's imitation of Gwildor because he does it so great.
Yes.
Every time I see Gwildor, I think about him.
What I want to see, he should come with like a bucket of chicken. That's what he should come with. Just like the movie.
That's awesome. They totally need to do that. It's funny because I think in the classics line they were packing like weapons and accessories that came with other figures in figures. So it's like that's how we got Stratos' staff and the Diamond Ray of Disappearance or whatever that thing was. And
Yeah,
that'd be awesome to have him pack.
that'd be great. Yeah.
What is it? Gwildor sponsored by KFC, right?
Exactly.
But
yeah,
I guess
want those new figures so
like what they did with Ram Man, could they add maybe some a little bit longer? I guess it would make him, maybe have him look weird, or at least give him some articulation in the arms, right? Because he's just one buck.
Fuck. And then
He's kind of like Orko a little bit with feet at the bottom.
That's so true.
Yeah, I could see like just giving him ball jointed feet, but really no legs, and then like fully articulated arms and head.
Yeah. But they have to make these, and I'm looking at the price stickers on here, just kind of like what these originally were $649 back in '87. So I guess if you do the inflation math, I think that is probably around what these figures are costing today too. But like to get a figure for $299 brings a tear to my eye.
Yeah,
I know.
they were blowing them out back at the end of the line. It was just everything must go. Nobody wanted them.
Oh. Yeah, and I guess that's the thing with these like deep cut figures, right? They're hit and miss for everybody, but I think when you start mixing them in with figures that people want in these waves, there's some people that need to collect the entire wave, and so that's where that's where you get it.
Yeah, I mean, I think even if he's not your favorite, if you're a completist, you're gonna get Gwildor.
Oh yeah, and that's me. If you can look at the other stuff in this.
Yeah.
It's a blessing and a curse, I'll tell you. One of the so I think rounding out the movie figures is Sarod. So they only made 3 of these guys, and Sarod has an interesting feature to him too.
Yeah, he's got the old sparking feature, which they used to make all kinds of toys that would spark. You just kind of basically the same mechanism that you get in a lighter, but with no fuel.
Like kids lighting up on the playground with Sarod.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
You use those little bubblegum cigarettes, right?
Right, yeah, exactly. Light up your bubblegum cigarette.
Powder.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's my favorite. I love for whatever reason I just love copper on action figures. He's kind of got a coppery colored figure. He's a little brittle. He's like some of that gold plastic syndrome that happens to some figures, especially the cover on the mechanism in the back tends to break off. But I think he's a really cool looking figure.
Yeah.
I really like the design.
Yes, and Giraffe says Sparks rule. I've actually never seen or looked up a video on this, or if anybody has it. But yeah, I'd like. How do you actually make the mechanism work? Is it literally like a lighter that you?
Kind of. It's like there's a lever on the back, kind of like the shape is almost like Mantena's lever, but it's kind of spring loaded. So you push it down, it'll go up automatically, and you just keep doing it, and the sparks come out his mouth.
Okay,
that's cool.
That's really neat.
Yeah.
And he's a very skinny character. I don't know if will they bulk him up like to fit with the others, or I don't know if he'll be like that, or kind of stick to this design.
Yeah, I hope that they stick to this design. I think that would be.
Yeah.
I couldn't see him as like a big, like hulky, muscly figure.
I'd prefer, if you pretty much look like this with articulation.
Yeah.
Definitely, they won't put the action feature on that.
Yeah, and then I guess like also in this line too, they started doing some really kooky things with Stondar or with Rock-On and Stondar. So it's just an interesting thing. And I do have these ones just to show you that yes, I can transform something, not a transformer, but this is the extent of my transformation abilities.
So Michael, why don't you entertain us with your transforming talent there?
It's really bad. Like they make it.
Hold on. You get full screen.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, they make it pretty foolproof with this one. It's like you basically just mush him in your hand and he turns into a rock. And it kind of reminds me of the movie Big, where he had the like transforming building. It's like you want something that transforms a comet.
Yeah. Well, he came out like right around the same time as Rock Lords, right? So transforming rocks. That was the year of the transforming rocks, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, all of this is is new tooling too, and
yeah. I hope they'll. I thought the classics versions were a little bit like lackluster. Like they tried to compromise a little too much on it. I hope it's a little bit more true to that original design, but how they're going to articulate that, I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah. But yeah, I think that to keep with the Origins line, I think, the classics figures were a little too clunky for me, just with all the extra parts.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
The transformed version was huge because it was putting that on top of the standard muscular buck. So
yeah, and we have his counterpart Stondar, and I think basically same figure, just painted differently, I'm guessing. But there are some differences here. So
there are differences. They are unique tools to each other. There's different costume, different rock surface, but the exact same concept. And when they first came out, they were called like battling boulders, or they had a boulder theme, but then very quickly they changed that to comet because they came out around when Halley's Comet was coming by, so I think they wanted to capitalize on that. Okay, now they're comets.
So,
interesting.
Michael, based on Cybermon's comment here, does your Stondar have a scent? And I ask for you to smell him on the air.
Oh, geez, thanks. I mean, you just
gotta give the people what they want.
I know, right? I don't know. It smells like plastic. Like, did they originally have a scent?
I don't know.
But they were. I mean, they were a harder plastic than most of the figures.
Okay.
So they could have. I didn't know this one.
Where Ron bought his Stondar and Rock-On, but apparently his had some sense, and I don't know if they.
Yeah.
Where were your figures sitting? Maybe they acquired some extra odor.
Could be.
Michael's only smells like plastic.
I got Jim.
Yep.
But yeah, so like these are some kooky cool figures, but then they also started to get really weird with like the spinning top Masters of the Universe figures.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the dregs kind of.
This is going way like overboard to another dimension where they got to these two guys, Rotar and Twistoid. Yeah,
Return to Twistoid. Yeah,
the cartoon was over by then, right? By the time,
yeah, this was 87. So the cartoon was over in 85.
Yeah.
What I want them to do, like, Rotar and Twistoid, they don't excite me that much, but I do want them to do the Gyro Attacker, which was this vehicle that they advertised in the 87 catalog, but they didn't do, and it had like a little vehicle that was in the front that you could make it spin up and launch it, and it would kind of spin like a top. But you could also, if you wanted, put Rotar or Twistoid in the front, and it would launch them too. So it'd be cool. Yeah, I just did one on that. So.
All right, I gotta see what this looks like. Oh geez.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's like
wow.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. So if they're gonna do the tops, they should do the top launcher.
Yeah.
Oh, they totally should.
Yeah, we need that. It could be like a whole like pack-in thing, like the vehicle with the figures.
I could see that being like Mattel Creations, because I these are very niche. You have to be very hardcore to want these guys.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Yeah, geez, there's so much stuff on the battle. Alex, like, I guess you saw me trying to search. I just typed in Gyro Attacker battle. That's pretty freaking cool. That's amazing. Yeah, I guess one of the things that we still need too in the line is also the battle ram, right?
Yeah, we only have the front half. So
we only have the jet sled, and it looks like you're able to obviously plug into something. And I always thought the battle ram was going to come shortly after the sky sled, and we never got it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I say we riot until they give us a battle ram.
I know, right?
Everybody get in front of Mattel HQ with signs like, "We want a battle ram now."
Yeah, I mean, they have a blueprint for this, so I think this would be fantastic. And then we have, Rotar's counterpart, Twistoid.
Yeah,
weird.
He's definitely more robotic. Rotar's kind of like the injured guy is given an action feature kind of concept, and Twistoid's just a robot, basically.
Yes. Yeah. It's funny, like the way that they handle, I guess, making people into robots or giving people cybernetic parts in Star Wars. It's like, it's kind of like what they're doing. He's got to feel bad though, because like, Mechanic. I mean, he doesn't have the greatest action feature, but he's got a neck that works. But they didn't give him legs; they just made him a top. Yeah. He could have had robot legs or something.
Yeah, he needs something on there. But the plastics versions came with the rest of the body, right?
They did, yeah.
The upper portion. I don't own them, but I think that was kind of a neat twist on the character that way.
Yeah, I own those ones, and I display them that way just because they're just different. Like, I think it's cool to have like a human version of this.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But all right, so what we did was we saved the last 3 that I think are on everybody's top list and that everybody wants. First up is Too Bad, who has been teased 4 times now on card art. We really need this guy. Yeah,
he's at this point, he's like one of the one of the core characters that's left, one of the few that's left.
Yeah.
Yes, he is one of my favorites. I'm going to grab him. He's right here.
See, he just mentioned it. Like,
magically, he just happened to be sitting at my desk. But I sure hope they retain his little,
The face punching.
I mean, this is so much fun. They probably won't, but I just love doing that with them. I mean, that's just the best part of Too Bad, the vintage one, of course. You know,
Yeah,
they argue and they hit each other.
he's such a fun character.
Yeah,
I would like. It'd be awesome if they had it. I don't know. Well, I don't. Well, I'm not sure exactly the way, but if they did Tuvar and Badra, and you could somehow, you know, get all versions, them together, them separately, that'd be great too.
That'd be awesome. Like I've always wanted them to do a Tuvar and Badra 2-pack, but I actually didn't like make that connection of like, oh, could you actually make them into Too Bad from that same 2-pack?
Right.
That would be awesome.
That would be cool. That'd make it pretty expensive. I don't know if anybody, if people would just prefer the simple one and then have the variants later.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe.
Or maybe make it like a 3-pack where you have, and it would be really cool, like Tuvar and Badra, and then put Too Bad in the middle, and it would be like a really cool like window box, so you can see like where he came from, what he turned into.
Yeah, that would be a popular 3-pack for sure.
Yeah, that would be a really cool 3-pack.
Yes, and Shaky Sacks Mattel Creations 3-pack. I love the names that people have for their user IDs. Still, Unicron's Left Nut is, I think, still one of my favorites. I think I did see him in the chat. I don't know if he's still on, but it's funny. But yeah, so I think for Too Bad, like I don't know if you saw where the heck did we see this? No, it was in the mini comic for Snakeface and Dragon Blaster Skeletor. They actually have a Fangor that has 2 heads on it, and so I think I was chatting with Allison Troy, and she was like, "Oh, they could probably reuse that Too Bad buck and just make a Fangor, a 2-headed Fangor."
I'd be all for that, especially if that armor was removable, which I assume it will be on the Origins version. They could do a lot of cool stuff with it.
So I think Too Bad, I think, is one of my favorite looking characters. He's just really weird and interesting looking, and I love the backstory that they have for Too Bad.
It's the concept art we have for him is doesn't look a lot like this. It's the Roger Sweets kind of idea, but he had like one of them was a good character and a bad character kind of fused together. Or one character who looked like his face was kind of filled with boils and things. So we don't have concept art for something that looks closer to this version. I assume it probably took quite a lot of development before it got to this version.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I'm trying to bring this. Is this the one that you were talking about?
That's it. Yeah. He almost looks like Prince Adam fused with some kind of piratey mutant guy.
Oh, here we go. Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of just experimenting.
Yeah, it's funny because like whenever I see the like versions of these figures, it's really funny. Like when they announce a new Eternia version, I immediately go to your blog and I'm like, okay, is it actually going to look like this, or is it going to look like something else?
Yeah, and this was really cool because I don't necessarily want a figure that looks like that. It's a little. I feel like some of the early concepts are cool. Some of them just look like really rough drafts, and this is kind of a rough draft. But they did take the weapons and the emblem on the chest, and that was neat that they do that.
Yeah, I think it's really cool just to see like the evolution and just kind of how you laid everything out here. So freaking cool. All right.
I can't wait to get him.
Next one on the list, I think he comes up as much as Mossman does in the comments.
Pretty much.
Cyclone. Such a cool figure.
Yeah, he's another one. Another Roger Sweet design. That's like two Roger Sweet characters they're holding back.
Yeah. Yeah, he's been teased multiple times as well. We got him recently. And I would love to see Cyclone, come out, and they got to retain his action feature because I mean that's the funnest part is just sitting there like it's like one of those little fidget toys. You just sit there spinning them all day.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun. My guess is they probably won't though, just because I think it's I don't know. I would love to see it, but my guess is they won't.
They probably won't do it. Well,
Yeah,
yeah. I
but
mean,
he's a
Michael,
great
what do you
looking
think?
figure.
I don't know. Like,
He is
could they engineer something where the probably cost them an arm and a leg, probably more than $100,000, but a spinning mechanism that's in his waist piece that just kind of unplugs, and so like the gears of it remain in his waist, but then you can still retain the swappability and all that stuff. I don't know. I'm just
I don't
spitballing
know.
there.
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
I
that's
don't know if it would
interesting.
cost too much. If you think about it, really, you could still do just like, the two halves with his torso and his waist piece, and then the little mechanism could actually be an extra thing that they tool that plugs in on top of the peg,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So that's the only thing that needs to spin. So when you peg him onto that, then that makes him spin around, right? I mean, I don't think it'd be that hard, but I'm just saying.
I don't think it would. I would love to see it. And somebody mentioned they want to see Strobo too, which would use the same chest. I think I would love to see a Strobo. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'm
and
surprised. Guess who said
we
that?
did get him.
Allison
Yeah,
Joy.
we did
There you
get
go.
him. There you go. We did get a teaser Strobo as well recently, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that that's got to show us that they got Cyclone on the mind, trying to reuse his parts. So
I love
Yeah.
this comment. Impossible to engineer in 2023. No problem in 85.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. So I was gonna ask you guys that question because obviously we're like 40 plus years of new technology, way deep into this new line, and back in 85 they were able to engineer all these cool action features. They paid for it. We had tons of figures on the shelf, and it's like now we're always talking about like, oh, the tooling and it's too
Yeah.
expensive, blah blah blah. I mean, think about it. They did it 40 years ago. Like, why the heck can't they do it now for a lot less money? I mean, our technology has
Yeah.
gone so far that they should be able to do this efficiently and cost effectively if they were able to do it back then.
They
Your
can.
thoughts, Adam?
I'm assuming the numbers. I mean, the Origins is a successful line, but a lot of it is us adult collectors. And I think back in the 80s, the numbers were just huge. Just they were
Yeah.
making money hand over fist. So if they invested extra into an action feature, they would definitely, it was a drop in the bucket, I think.
Yeah. So true.
Yeah, and I guess with all of the, with they ran into trouble, I think, doing this, right? I think towards the end of the line because it was costing too much and nobody was buying them anymore. So is that because there wasn't a cartoon to support some of this stuff, or is it just like the designs just didn't match people's expectations?
Yeah, well, what I've heard, I mean, probably lack of animation that probably pushed, that would push the brakes a little bit on it. But what I heard was in '86, whoever was in charge of marketing the line, they ended up just shipping out too much product. Like they took some of the European product that they were holding for Europe, and they, just to make their numbers, to get a bonus, they ended up just like, okay, let's flood the stores with this extra product. And it was just so much of the same kind of figures, like how many Rock-On and Stone-Dars can you really sell? It just started languishing, and then by the next year it was dead. But other things, yeah. I mean, for me, I know when I was a kid, like the 86 was where it started to feel like most of the characters weren't that interesting to me. I liked the Snake Men. The heroes didn't really catch my eye. And so I moved on to G.I. Joe at that point. G.I. Joe was getting a little bit more fantasy oriented at that point. So that I'm sure a lot of different factors.
Yeah, like you move from a line that was going off the rails to a line that was going off the rails in a few years.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, definitely, yeah. Cyclone, I think, what was there was a comment by Robert that I don't think I can find really quickly, but oh yeah, he was saying that the play feature is cool, but the colors were really interesting. So definitely with Robert on this one.
Yeah, very bright character. He looks very superhero like.
Yeah. Yeah. And all right, last one on the list, and we've seen this in the chat quite a bit. Rio Blast, definitely, I think one of the oddest and most cooling looking concepts for a character.
Yeah.
Yeah, I dig Real Blast. He's one of he doesn't fit that well in my opinion, just because he's very Earth-like, this cowboy image. But I do like him. There's something about him, the cybernetic cowboy with stuff popping out, guns everywhere.
Cybernetic
Chuck Norris. Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, he's a really fun character.
Yeah,
I love him.
He is really fun.
Yeah,
definitely a cool design.
I wonder if this was cashing in on oh, sorry, go ahead. I was just gonna say, like, Brave Star and the whole like space cowboy.
Yeah, it was kind of this came out right around when Brave Star was coming out, so I don't know the relationship there, but when he does out of all that 86 wave of heroic warriors, he seems like the most deluxe. Like you're getting a lot from this character, just in terms of looks and playability.
Yeah, he's really cool. I do have a complete version of him that I actually just got as a gift from the Fairness of Toys. Gave that to me, and I love it. And I always thought like he was missing a cowboy hat. I would just love that. If he would come with a cowboy hat, like a little removable one.
You think like the Cape Master would make one of those, right?
Yeah, I know. Get on a Cape Master.
Yeah, I want a cowboy hat. Maybe give him a few extras, like in some like a rifle you could strap on his back or something. Few little extras would be great.
Yeah, this one would be a really cool like Mattel Creations or deluxe figure. I think it'd be incredible.
Yeah, and I think also too, like with Lord Grasp and Terror being teased, like that 3-pack that had Plasmar in it, like this would also open the door to Plasmar.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah, well, totally.
I hope they actually have it popping out and not just like a plug-in like they did with classics.
Yeah.
I felt that was kind of so execution on that. It really kind of needs to pop out of the body.
Yeah. I get the wanting like the swappability and the customizability of these things, but it's like if you have something that is this specific, like you need to just remake this and forget about including swappability for this one.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you have this one as well?
I had him a while back. I don't have him currently. It's I'll get him again eventually for sure. He's a fun character.
Yeah, I've gone through waves of that. It's like I've sell them, bought them back, sell them, bought them back. I think I'm on.
You have him, Michael?
What? Yeah, I do. He's up.
Okay,
top, up there, encased in plastic. But yeah.
Plastic prison.
Yeah, there's a handful of vintage figures that I don't have, and they're just too much money to get. So just make them in Origins, please.
I know, right? Exactly.
But yeah, I think those round out the figures for what they have left, and it'd be really interesting because aside from the card art teases and things like that, like we haven't heard any like leaks about Rio Blast especially, and some of the other figures that are coming later down the line. So be interesting to see what I guess we still have Comic-Con to get through, right? So if some of these figures get produced, plus we have 2024.
Probably at least another couple of years just to get through these remainings, because I know they're sprinkling around so much sort of variants and mini comics and 2000X and all that stuff.
Yeah, and like we said, these figures are always a couple years in the making, and they've got a roadmap, if you want to call it that, of what waves are going to come out and when. And so the fact that we do have so many core characters still remaining in the line, and yet they keep sprinkling in all these variants, mini comic versions, Rulers of the Sun, only tells us that they've got like a long roadmap still ahead, and we still have some time left to go with MOTU. Yeah. So, but that's good news. right? The longer
Yeah.
it's like, they're dragging out getting all the good stuff, but that means we have a lot more MOTU in our future.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I hope we get more just cool stuff from the brain of Axel Jimenez. I love like the new characters they've come up with too.
Yeah. They come up with a lot of amazing. There was all those new teases that were on the Mossman card back. Those new snake men. One of them that actually had a slithering tail on it, which was really cool.
Oh, that's neat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Neil might be the only one that wants the Mighty Spectre in order. I mean, it was a cool figure.
Yeah. And I know what I want. I want from that was from the 30th anniversary line. I want Castle Grayskull Man in Origins and Drago Man. I'd love to see both of those.
Oh, he's cool. I would love Drago Man.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing to like area to deep dive in is like what figures would make really nice figures that they made in classics for Origins.
Yeah.
So
and we have to build out the new adventures line also, right?
Oh yeah.
We got new adventure He-Man, and that's it. Like there's a lot of characters out there too.
Yeah, I'd love to see all the Skeletors. I want all the Skeletor variants, and I want all of the detail too, because all of them are very unique, and they've got all kinds of technological stuff attached to them. Just give me everything.
Yeah.
Adam, have you gotten? So sorry, Michael. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask: have you gotten the new Skeletor Screech 2-pack yet? With Skeletor's new head sculpt. Did you receive that one, Adam? Or have you seen it?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were asking Michael. No, I have not received that, but that's a cool looking cool looking set. I love that they're just referencing. I think that's the first time where they've just like, hey, let's take a piece of vintage box art and just recreate it. I love Rudy Overero's artwork. He's just the moodiness of it. So I love that.
It translated very well, and then the new sculpt for Skeletor's face, which is much more vintage inspired, and the fact that they did build in the articulated jaw. I'm hoping that they translate that into future versions of Skeletor, which would be incredible.
Yeah. I haven't seen it in person yet, but I do like that. I feel like always the Skeletor face is, for whatever reason, it's hard to capture that vintage head, but
but they
actually
did a pretty good on this one. So this is here he is.
Yeah,
and he's got we did a review on this, but he does have an articulated jaw. It's very cool, and you can see that they captured the vintage look of Skeletor very well, because now he's got the larger eyes with the larger red pupils in them, and the more defined green around the edges of his head and the yellow around his face, which I think really captures that vintage Skeletor look a lot more than all the rest of them. So
I
really
looks great.
This version of him.
But
I
think I've got that
direction. Skeletor.
One figure that would be interesting for them to make, because it was that fan, I guess the winner of the fan created version was the Fearless Photog, which came out in classics, but I think he needs his due, like in an actual Origins buck, because that's how he was intended, right?
Right, just those vintage proportions. That'd be great. I'd be down for the Fighting Foemen, that 3-pack that they did.
Yes.
I thought those looked great. There's lots of stuff.
Yeah, there's so much that they can do, and I'd flashed somebody's comment around the Filmation, like somebody made a comment around the Filmation characters making them nervous, but I think that just helps continue the line, because if they sell those, like that just makes more money for the line and can continue the line. So I'm not nervous about it, and I think that's basically why I collected the Super 7 Ultimates Masters of the Universe figures, because I wanted Filmation versions as well.
Yeah. And that's just a good way to refresh the line, because there's always that pent up demand for the core, 12 figures, whoever you might pick for those 12. But if you get them in slightly different looks, but they're still very familiar, that's a good way to keep it fresh.
Yeah. I think it's fantastic that they're going that way.
I think you had already said, Adam, like you wanted some, like, I guess beyond the figures that they have left for produce, like is there one figure, if they made it, would be like the quintessential Origins one? And totally sorry to put you on the spot like that.
Okay. There's a few. There's like there's still. I would love like a mini comic Tila, like with the blonde hair and the spear and everything, something like that. Shoot. Some. I feel like my favorites are always those old, Alcala mini comic type characters, and they've done a lot of that. Some of them are really good. Like the Lords of Power set was good. Like their version of mini comic Stratos was less than. I had to kind of customize my own version to make it look sort of closer to the material. Yeah, here's, I guess I would say put Tila in Charger. So like that sort of blonde colored unicorn that she had.
Oh,
put out a two pack of that. I would love that.
We still need Swiftwind.
So yeah,
She-Ra's been out forever. Where is Swifty?
Yeah, I definitely need more She-Ra characters too.
Yeah, do you actually see them like making the Princess of Power line as well?
I don't know. I mean, they don't seem to have been, other than She-Ra, and I don't know if it's just like I know it's a different property and there's different rights for She-Ra than there is for He-Man, and if it's more complicated for them to do She-Ra, but I mean they've done some in Masterverse, so I'd love to see some She-Ra love as well.
Yeah. We need Swiftwind, Arrow, all of them.
I know, a little looky too.
I know. Like Shadow Weaver too. Like a Origins Shadow Weaver would be great.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
An Evil Seed.
Evil Seed for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, if they're trending into Filmation, there you go. That's the door. Open the door to Filmation characters.
And my two favorites, Fangman and Strong or Strong.
Yeah. I was just about to say, like, one of my favorite classics figures is Strongor, and I would love for them to make one in the Filmation line. Like, I think that would be my like number one figure that I would want them to make.
Absolutely, yeah, I'd buy that up in a heartbeat.
I'd buy that for $1. Do you have one toy sorceress that you would love them to make
from Filmation specifically, or
any? Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, my number one is Hero with Vac Metal armor.
Yeah.
That I'm gonna keep asking for it until I have him in hand. And you know why Hero is special to me, Michael? I don't need to tell you.
No, you don't, because that's how we met. So
that's how we met.
But that's awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to see what they have coming down the pipeline. So Comic-Con is going to be interesting because they do have some stuff that was probably held back from the March reveals that they're saving for Comic-Con too.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll see a couple at least of this big list that we just went over.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's for sure. Yeah. I guarantee it.
I guarantee.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. So yeah, I mean, it was wonderful. It was wonderful having you on the show, Adam. You're on. So for people who don't know and have been living under a rock for the last since 2015, since you started the site, where can people find you, and kind of where are you on social media?
So my site is battleramblog.com. All of my social media handles are also just battleramblog, one word. So I'm on Twitter a lot. I have a Facebook page, Instagram. Not TikTok. I'm too old for TikTok, but those are the three main ones.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, your information has been like indispensable and just so valuable for the MOTU community, and I can't believe that you've actually talked to a lot of the original creators. So awesome.
It's incredible.
Oh, thank you, appreciate it. I and there's been a number of people who've done similar work, and I think it's just a lot of that work, there used to be a lot more. I feel like there's a lot more websites that were kind of trying to do the history of He-Man. A lot of them have just sort of gone away. So I really want, Battle Run Blog to continue to be a resource.
Yes.
I've gotten a lot of help and a lot of information from other fans over the years. So it's just a community project in a lot of ways.
I think it's fantastic, and thank you for everything you do for the MOTU community. I mean, I use it like kind of like going to the library, and
Right.
like doing research and look at stuff up, like go to the card catalog and like let's see what I can look up in there when I do my search for stuff. And it's such a great source for so much wonderful information that you would not find anywhere else, Adam. So thank you for what you do, and keep up the incredible work on your website, because it's just an indispensable resource for all of us MOTU fans. Really, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you have any projects that are coming up, or things that you have in the pipeline, either for your site or anything that you can talk about? I don't want to have you share like sensitive information, but anything like that.
Yeah, working on. I've only got like probably maybe 15 or so vintage toys to cover yet on my site. So I'm working on a number of articles right now. Working on something. If anybody's going to PowerCon, potentially you might see me do something there for one of the days at PowerCon. Don't want to reveal too much yet, but that should be fun. But other than that, yeah, you'll mostly you just look to my site. You'll see a number of new articles over the next couple of months.
Oh, very cool. What's one that you're working on like right now that you're kind of maybe almost finished with?
Well, the one I most recently did was Rotar. Just finished that, so I'm really just starting. Right now, I'm going to do working on Spydor.
Nice.
So that you'll see that come up next. Also, my buddy Yuka Isakainen, I don't know if you're familiar with his work. He worked on the Dark Horse mini comic book, and he has his own channel. So he's started collaborating with me more and more, and so he's going to be putting out some scans of old like Toy Fair articles, covering some 2000X toys, and some of those old articles.
So cool.
Nice.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's funny. Like I would have thought, like, I guess this is the Battle Ram blog is still an evolution, right? It's like you haven't like built everything out and put a fork in it and you're like, I'm done. I don't think
yeah. And once I finish vintage, I'll probably start doing more new adventures. I've done a few new adventures figures, but I'll start covering more of that. And we'll see where it goes. It's pretty much, just a matter of how much can I squeeze in before I die, I guess.
Well, definitely a resource that we look to, and also just looking at the chat, there is so much love for the Battle Ram blog and for what you do. So we so appreciate it. And just looking forward to all the stuff that you have coming down the pipeline.
Exactly. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you, Adam. It's been wonderful. So after this stream, actually, Michael, we have our hot tub after party for our addict members, which is gonna be super fun. And there was a lot of other news that came out that wasn't totally MOTU related, especially yesterday. So I know we have a lot of like Super Friends and Superpowers fans out there. We'll talk about that a little bit in the hot tub, amongst other news that has come out. So that'll be fun. So make sure if you're one of our addict members to stick around, and we'll be jumping on that. And then next week we've got our extended private live stream for the rest of the crew as well, right?
Yes, we do. Yes, yeah. So looking forward to the hot tub, and I'll have to give you the backstory on the hot tub.
Is it a time machine? Is that how it works?
Kind of. I don't know. We talk about all the old stuff, so possibly, but no. But no, Adam, it was great to have you on, and we would love to have you back anytime. So yeah, if there's something that you want to talk about in the future, just ping us, and I'm always happy to have you on.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love it. Thanks, guys.
Oh, you're very welcome. All right, y'all. We were gonna wind down the stream. The Toy Sorceress and I are gonna get our swimsuits on and jump in the hot tub.
Exactly. Except we'll look just like this.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, everyone in the chat for joining us today. I know that we do see a lot of the comments, wondering about the vintage line with all of the leaks that are coming out that are not the rest of the vintage line. So we figured, how fun would it be to talk about this stuff with somebody who is super knowledgeable and loves this probably, more than anyone else.
Exactly. Right to the source.
Yes. So,
thank you so much, Adam.
Yeah,
Thank you,
Adam. And we hope everybody in the MOTU community has a fantastic weekend and a wonderful day. And we will see the addicts in the hot tub in 5 minutes or so.
Yeah. Good night, everybody.
Good night.